All right, welcome back to the podcast. Episode 2 today. Episode 2? Maybe 2, maybe 3. I'm not sure, depending on when we upload these. Today we're going to be reviewing the movie Smile. Morgan went and saw it a while ago. He's been itching to talk about it.
Quite spooky.
Yeah, it was pretty spooky. It was really good. There was a lot of really
pretty
good
spooky. When the fucking jump scare, you were going like, Wah!
Oh, I was jumping around for all of them. Jump scares get me.
Where's Morgan?
Where's Morbius going? Morbin, come back.
Is that his code name?
Morbin, come back.
Yep. Eagle balls to Morbius. Do you copy?
I'm grabbing dum-dums.
You and eating. We need to feed him before every episode.
It's impossible to feed him up to full.
That's bullshit. I can eat.
I can do shit. Are you putting 2 of those in your mouth?
Like, you never did that as a kid?
I do that all the time, but...
Like, yeah, I'll give you...
Why are we judging him for it if you do it all the time?
Yeah.
Because we were trying to record, and it's going to be the whole time...
Just go on timeout until you're done.
Okay, here.
You just crunch those like yards.
Just slurp them down. All right, we'll sit down because we're going to talk.
He just sped run lollipops. I've never seen that before. He eats them
is that the new world record for fastest lollipop
He
eating?
eats them like gummy bears.
All right, anyway, to start with, before we get into the actual talking about the movie, I was researching it. Did you see what they did for marketing?
No. Yeah, I didn't research it. I just wrote a full essay on it.
Well, yeah, but do you guys watch any baseball? You watch any baseball?
Not really.
So,
how the hell did you know they were there? Spider-Man senses.
My spidey senses are tingling.
So what they did is, let me pull up a picture of it. For those listening, you can't really see it, but just look up marketing for Smile.
Welcome, Belgium.
If you look at this picture,
What?
you see the guy in the blue?
Is that a hamster?
Oh my god.
What is that guy's face?
So what they would do is they would send people to baseball games, have them stand right behind home plate, and they would just stand there smiling creepily at the cameras. And my dad was watching baseball one day. He and my mom were sitting in the living room, and he pauses the TV and yells, "Micah, come in here." And I come in, and there's just this lady here with a shirt that says Smile, and she's just creepily smiling at the camera, and my dad was freaking out. It was really funny, but apparently that was advertising for the movie. It's really good advertising. That's smart.
Imagine being the person in the stadium just standing next to them like, look at this guy just kind of smiling.
Well, there was
at the
another
camera.
one here. This lady.
Well, it's like they send like the kiss cam, but it's just a guy standing there smiling.
So there's that lady in the top right, smiling. You see her?
No.
In the top right.
There's nobody in the top
left.
Right. Top left. Oh, that's a yellow shirt.
Yeah. So she's just standing there smiling with a shirt that says Smile. All right. So that's the cool marketing for the movie. I thought that was really interesting. Cool marketing. Thinking back to how I had seen that in the...
Did we even say what the movie was at this point?
Yeah, I said it was Smile. It was interesting marketing for the movie, which was pretty cool. Especially seeing it.
I just remember getting the ads on YouTube and be like, don't care.
So we're going to try to start this episode, starting with the beginning. We're going to try to do no spoilers here. And then about halfway through, we'll start some spoilers. Get into
I will
the
put a warning
nitty-gritty.
later when we get into spoilers.
Get 'em!
We will probably do that, right?
Ooh, get him!
The Lexus is
that-
getting pulled over.
Oh. Anyway, would you like to start us off with your synopsis? What do we have first?
So,
We'll just kind of talk through the movie as we go along. Major points, pros and cons.
on my notes, I have a fat list of notes here because I was bored at work last night. The info.
I thought you were doing it during the movie.
No, both.
No, I didn't want to be on my phone. There's nobody. Okay, go back when we got to the theater. There was nobody there. But do you remember the guy that came in?
Oh my god, that was terrifying.
He came in. He looked at us. He looked at the theater, turned around, and left.
Freak, because in the middle of a horror movie, this guy just stands there and he's looking at us, and he looks back at the theater.
And then he goes
pissing
away.
my pants.
I assumed he worked there. And was like, is anybody watching this movie? Oh, yeah. There's 2 of them. Okay.
You know they have cameras in there, so...
They were probably checking that we weren't
Having
Making
sex.
I was going to say more along the lines of drugs and alcohol, but sure, that too.
We were
Who
just trying
does
to watch a
drugs and
movie.
alcohol in a movie theater?
Also,
kidding me?
get
Rent-
laid.
Also, during the course of the movie, this has nothing to do with spoilers because it's not about the movie itself. There was a light flashing in the corner.
So that was the whole movie.
What?
It kept flashing on and off lights, remember? We would get up and try to look at it.
Yeah, we
The
got
whole
up.
movie.
So you guys were the only ones there?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was just
Lucky.
us. Nobody.
Yeah, continue on your
watched it.
light.
I guess people already saw it or nobody cared. What was it talking about?
The light.
Oh, it was flashing and it was spooky. And we got up and tried to fight it.
Yeah, we tried to fight the ghost. I
It's all there, so
sacrificed
that-
him to the ghost.
The ghost
I was
doesn't
about
want
to
him. He's
kick
got
him
elite.
down.
I can't put on my British voice to be scary.
He's got soul meat. He's
I'll tell you what, bro.
Ah! What are we talking about again? What was it?
I found a way.
The Pink Panther?
The power of King Panther. Dun-dun. That's his theme, right?
Yeah, this is the horror movie.
Or is it like
right?
dun dun dun? And that's Walter
Pink
Grant.
Panther?
dun 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 dun.
Oop, I broke it.
Okay, so movie. So should we start with just like a? How far do you want me to get in my synopsis?
How much are you willing to read?
Oh, I'm gonna probably.
Why don't we just start with the beginning? What's the first stuff that happened? We'll kind of talk
Alright,
through
so some info about the beginning of. Oh, I wrote an info page. It's like all I wrote is based on a short story called Laura Hasn't Slept. That's my info on the
What'd
movie.
you say?
Based on a short story called Laura Hasn't Slept. You talked about it already, right?
That's her name? Laura Hasn't Slept?
Oh, I haven't talked
Yeah.
about that.
Oh,
no.
well, why don't you talk about that? Since
That's
I have plenty of talking I'm gonna do.
Yeah. So it's a Smile itself was the director had made a short film a couple years ago, back in 2020 for a film festival called Laura Hasn't Slept, I think.
Okay.
And so that's what kind of inspired Smile and inspired him to do this movie. Because I think I haven't watched the short film. I know I need to. But I think the main character in the short film is the lady from the beginning of the movie. The first one that comes in and talks to the therapist and then dies.
That's spoilers? Well, that's in the
It's like
trailer,
the
right?
beginning of the movie.
And then she spontaneously combusts.
Yeah. So it kind of carries over from the short film that he made over to this movie and making it a really big thing. It's really interesting, pretty cool.
Also, I found it on Reddit, but somewhere. I don't remember where. I saved it on the account.
We'll go watch it later.
Well, no, it was an account, somebody asking about it, and there were people like, oh, I found it on the Wayback Machine. Like, oh, I downloaded it and put it on the sketchy website on the Wayback Machine.
It's a Wayback Machine.
It's like a machine that goes way back. High
Fantastic.
concept stuff.
Thanks for...
So I think we should just talk about like what you think of the movie, spoiler free, before we go through like what happens in it. So who wants
Like a
to go?
spoiler for your review.
Yeah, Morgan, what do you think? What do you like about it, and what do you not like about it? Like, give your.
I
2 cents.
like the aspect of how you didn't know at certain times when, like, if it was the demon or like just a normal person, like when like
No spoilers.
well, I can't.
Say okay.
We
gonna
can
do a
elaborate later. We can
A
elaborate later.
spoiler review later.
'Cause I haven't seen the movie yet. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, what's Smile? No, but yeah, I like the aspect where you didn't know if the demon was this person or if that's a normal person, like, and then it just like jump scare, boom, you know.
Okay, so setting change for reasons. Don't ask questions. Didn't happen, and you're not thinking about it.
All right, and we are going.
Liftoff.
We are. Yeah. All right. Well, where were we?
We were so
we had a
rudely
little bit of
interrupted.
We had a little bit of a setting change.
Scene change. We're back though in a cool new area. Definitely not homeless in the woods.
It's Micah's car.
Definitely not Micah's
Spoilers.
car.
Spoilers.
We were leaving clues. They were supposed to figure it out.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that they were Scooby-Doo and the gang.
What's the Scooby Doo coming
Coming
after you?
And I saw
Eat my
that.
salty ass.
Yes,
You don't need
please.
Scooby-Doo for that. Anyway, so do you have any more input to give?
Nah,
Spoiler free.
Or do you want to wait for spoilers?
I liked how unsettling the movie was as well. It was very unsettling to the point where it was unsettling.
To maybe even some would say unsettling.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Quite
Fascinating.
unsettling.
What do you think, Antoine? Do you think it was unsettling?
I think it was perfectly settling because my stomach definitely shat itself.
Oh, we ate some bad shit before that.
Oh, okay. We had Kurger Bing. It was not good. We had
Kurger
Kurger Bing
Bing.
last time too, but it was cold and we had hot sauces.
This time it was warm.
but
and
it was
it
so
wasn't
bad.
better.
Never have Kurger Bing. It sucks. You can't sue us, Kurger Bing, because we're not saying your name correctly.
Yeah, Kurger Bing, not Burger King. Definitely not Burger King. Kurger Bing.
Yeah, you'll never know. who
Different
it is.
things.
Anyway,
Would you
So-
like to give your review?
so
Spoiler-free?
I think let me pull up my notes. Real
Do you
fast.
think or do you know, Antoine?
So as far as spookiness go, the jump scares were very, very good. They actually have jump scares that made you crap your pants, especially us. I don't know. We didn't see. Did you shit your pants, Morgan? The jump scares?
Yeah.
quite spooky. They were very good. They weren't just like the cheap ones. I think they were pretty good. And then also the sound design throughout the entire movie, very good. The music, some of the music. Do you remember when we went in to get your keys and the fucking music? It sounded like someone was being suffocated under a pillow. Some intense shit. Yeah.
Music was really, really good.
Yeah. I also think that the character was a therapist.
Good job.
Okay, and so for some criticisms about the movie, I think that they could have done better to enhance the mystery of it. I think there was. I'll explain it more in the spoiler section, but they reveal the mechanics of the antagonist really early on. I thought was kind of lame. Some of the spookiness at the end suffers due to CGI, which isn't really a spoiler.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you kind of, because at the end it's sort of it switches from horror to like Resident Evil, which is fun, but it kind of not as scary anymore. Also,
it was cool how like you never knew if it if it was reality.
Isn't that what you said before?
No, I was talking about the people more, but also the setting.
We'll definitely go into that more once we start spoilers.
Once I take my finger out of your ass.
All right, Micah, do you want to go? Do you have any?
I mean, I love the soundtrack. I love that really heavy violin sound. I mean, it was really cool soundtrack. I thought the pacing was really good. They kept it up really well with, they.
Yeah, not to step all over your point, but yeah, there was like this was something I thought of last night. The spookiness was well distributed throughout the entire movie.
Yeah. And the jump scares too weren't consistent, you know? Because if you watch any horror movie with jump scares, you're like eventually you're gonna be able to tell when this jump scares are gonna happen. In this movie, like some of them happen immediately with no warning, and some of them you could feel the build up to it. So it was a lot of in my opinion, the best kinds of horror, which is jump scare horrors and psychological horror. Because it was just really well done. Pacing was well done. Jump scares were great.
Jump scare horrors have to be done well, though.
And that's what this movie did. I mean, They did jump scares really, really well. So there's our spoiler-free...
all right, well, I guess... do you have any number ratings for it? I give it an 8 out of 10.
For the whole movie? Yeah, I'd say a good 8 out of 10.
Yeah, 8 out of 10 would be good.
So
I think
if you
that's
haven't seen
fair.
it, go see it. If you don't care, then it's about to be ruined for you. So
if you enjoy horror, then go see it.
Although you can leave early because the end's not... I'm just kidding.
It was definitely... I feel like it was definitely more fun seeing it with someone else, you know? Like getting the shit scared out of me and jumping was much more fun
when you could hold Antoine in your arms.
Like, the entire time in theater, I kept looking in the corner because what we mentioned earlier about the lights flashing. I kept like looking over, like, is there gonna be somebody over there smiling at me? Like, it was weird. Like,
oh yeah.
Was that part of the movie, or was there a malfunctioning light?
I think the lights were just going off.
Because that was fucking.
It was
I don't know if that happens to other people, but like, goddamn.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say,
Did it happen to you?
No, it didn't happen to me. See, before I saw that movie, I'd go, my computer's in the garage, so I'd go upstairs to my bedroom at night, and I'd just be like, walk to my bedroom. I'd turn my flashlight on, and now I have to check behind me every 2 seconds.
When I was like, it's like reminds me of like when I was a kid, and like I would wake up, but like I had these blinds that were super, so even if it was broad daylight, it would be like pitch black in the room because the blinds were super tight. So I'd have to like book it from the bed to the door to open it to get the sweet light.
Sweet light.
In the morning.
You sound like a plant.
Oh yeah, because I was scared shitless of the dark when I was a kid. Anyway.
Starting now, there could be spoilers. But there might not be.
We're not sure.
We're not entirely sure how this is going to go. So be warned.
Well, because, I feel like it's better because the spoiling the beginning, I think, is still kind of spoiling. There's stuff that happens there that is cool to see.
Well, okay, yes. So if you don't want spoilers, pause the podcast right now.
Go away.
Immediately go watch the movie, and then come back when you're done watching the movie. And you'll
drop everything you're doing. Go see the movie. No questions asked.
Or if you don't give a shit, keep listening.
Or come immense amounts.
That's true. Do that too.
Yeah.
Or don't, because it's November.
Okay.
Anyway,
now that you're back,
hope you enjoyed it.
Why don't we start with the synopsis, and then we can give our opinions. I wrote footnotes, and we can give our opinions of the scenes as they pass by. And
why don't we go through like major points of the movie?
So, all right, the movie opens with the main character, whose name is Rose, because that's their name, is coming across, like she's a kid at this point, and she's coming across her dead mother, who I found out on Wikipedia apparently overdosed on drugs. Did the movie tell us that?
Yes.
I don't remember that at all.
It showed it.
It showed a bunch of pills on the ground.
Oh, I don't remember the pill. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
And
so
alcohol and stuff.
So her mom overdosed, and she found her dead mother. And so so the thing I have about it is that was like, at the point I didn't know it was the main character. At first I thought it was like the first person that kills themselves. At first I thought it was her. because it kind of looked like her. And so I didn't even know it was about Rose, and they didn't. This was like the setup to like her, like background of the character, but they didn't expound on that until like past the halfway point of the movie, which is a little weird. So they're kind of slow in the character development, but it was there. It's just the first half just does not give a shit about her past at all of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it was a weird opening because typically in a horror movie you get an opening where somebody dies and it kind of gives you a little pre-cum, little taste of who the villain is, who the enemy is. And this one went into
Tom Cruise,
something that was more
Tom Cruise smiling at you. I'm gonna mission all over your Impossible.
Ooh.
Wowza.
Or I'm gonna gun all over your Maverick, but on the top.
I'm gonna bartenderize you.
Can I call you Maurice? I feel like I want to call you Maurice.
Maurice?
I don't know why.
Maurice, I cannot move it anymore. Maurice.
My laptop.
Oh, that's your laptop.
Anyway,
my laptop. All right, yeah.
So what happened next? What was like the next big plot point after that?
How did Tom Cruise
get
the
and
Maurice?
then, so it shows that's like the intro sequence. So basically, the camera like pans to like see the dead body.
I don't think we need to know every camera movement. By the way.
Well, okay, fine. But basically, there's some cool camera action.
At this moment, I kind of felt a gust of wind.
I'm trying to explain why I liked it. The camera action was cool because it kind of it was cool, and it phased through the door, and then like you could see like Rose as a child about to discover her overdosed mom. After this, it cuts to I don't remember his name, but it's this old patient who's like sitting in a room and like constantly mumbling to himself like, she's dead, you're gonna die. Like
cynical.
The demon told him he was gonna die, and he's freaking out about it.
Really?
It wasn't the demon.
No, it wasn't. He just has like
he was just crazy.
Schizo.
Yeah.
It wasn't the demon.
Yeah, it was.
No.
He saw the demon.
No, he didn't.
Because she's in a mental hospital where people are brought in that are not mentally stable.
No, but later in the movie, he sees her. Oh, that's in a dream, actually.
That was
yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, well, whatever.
Where she starts killing him.
Okay, ignore the comment where it said about it was the demon. It wasn't the demon, but after she's like dealing with the manic patient, she goes into like another room to deal with like another patient, and then the patient is like hiding in like the corner, looking all frightened and like jittery. And basically,
so this was the first
one
time.
that kills herself.
Like the first.
She comes in
You'll
the
see it
room.
in the trailer. It's the lady in the trailer.
Or if you've seen the movie, you'll know what we're talking about.
No, you won't know if you've seen the
At
movie.
this point, only our high intel can give us this information. But basically, she's like sitting there and she's like freaking out. They sit down, and then this was my first criticism that I had when I was watching the movie, which is basically that. Well, if we had done that earlier, okay.
There's someone outside.
Laura, who is this second patient, but she basically explains how like all the mechanics of the monster, like in one of the first scenes.
She's like, I see people that like.
Yeah. And then, furthermore, she freaks out and falls on the ground. And then, to her perspective, Rose is smiling at her and about to kill her. And so the demon climbs inside her.
Now, Rose is the main character.
No, but the demon, from Laura's perspective, Rose is smiling and like.
No, though it's behind her. I think it doesn't take over people's bodies. It just.
It does. Yeah.
Well,
it does.
no, it was unclear
No, it
as to what was going on
at the end of the movie. The demon literally climbs into Rose.
Okay, but it
Rose's mouth.
wasn't controlling Rose at that time and point. So I think she saw it like in the room with them.
Well, yeah, no, it wasn't controlling Rose, but
it wasn't Rose. No, she didn't see Rose. She was looking over like Rose's shoulder.
But the point was that
Micah, no one cares what you say.
the demon can take over people that you know and that you've seen before.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Right? So it could.
No.
It was unclear, but it could have been.
Okay, in
Rose,
the party,
and it
when
could
the
have been
kid
someone
finds
else.
the dead cat, Rose sees somebody that she knows smiling at her, like possessed by the demon.
Yeah, and then she closed her eyes, and then there's nothing there.
Yeah, it's not actually there, but she's like,
I
Laura
know,
is hallucinating it.
But Laura, you're saying it like in Rose's place was that person, was the demon, right?
He's saying that Laura saw Rose as the demon, right? The demon took manifested
Rose
as
was
Rose's
smiling.
body.
Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, that's Rose was smiling. That's kind of what I just gathered from the scene.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's saying it's not like
what
that.
I think, it doesn't stand in their place. It doesn't make people disappear and stuff and take their spot
It's like
in
they're
that
both-
person's
okay, I see
mind.
what you mean, I see what
So
you
I
mean.
think that it was probably I don't know who it was mimicking or being as, but I think it was just in the room with them.
Well, was there a point at which it did take someone specific that was there with?
Because like every time it was
Well,
there,
no, at
like
the girl
with
in the party, she was at the party, and then the demon was also there. So I think.
I don't think it was a specific person.
No,
from
the
party,
person
though.
at the party was
the
Laura,
person
right?
that smiles is the person that lets her into the party.
Was it?
Yeah.
No, the person that led her into the party was her sister.
No, well, okay. Her sister lets her in, and then she's there when she's let in. She talks to her sister, then she talks to the person that was smiling. So either that was the demon the whole time, and everyone somehow knew this person that was the demon that they clearly made physical contact with, or the demon is just making her hallucinate that she was smiling. She wasn't actually smiling.
No, but then then she looks back, and then there's no one in the chair there. So I think that the demon was being someone else, and then there was not actually anyone there, because she saw it, and then she's like, and then she crashes through the table, and then she looks up, and there's nothing there. So, because the demon's completely in that person's head, whoever it's controlling.
Well, then why would they have her talk to the person that was smiling?
When?
Like, straight up. When she got to the party, she talked to her.
Well, it's in her head, so that could have been, it could have been the actual person, but then...
So the other people are just watching her talk to nobody? That's kind of...
No, that could have been the actual person, but then...
So the actual person is at the party?
They are, but the demon made itself to look like her, but she's, somewhere else, not in that chair.
Okay, I'll accept it. Anyway, the point wasn't that Rose was the demon. That wasn't the point I was trying to get across. The point that I was trying to get across was that the demon was there and she fell over, freaked out, and the demon went inside her.
What? No,
it goes inside them right before they kill themselves. You see that at the end of the movie. Remember when it ripped its skin off?
Yeah, but you said the party, so I was still thinking of that scene.
I brought up the party because I was explaining why.
No, you said the party again. Right before you said that.
Oh no, okay. Back to the patient scene in the beginning of the movie. Rose, she turns around, she goes to a phone and calls for help. When she turns around and looks to where she was, she's not there, and she sees flower pot was broken, and then she turns more around, and she's there standing behind her smiling. Laura's standing behind Rose smiling with the shard of glass. And then she cuts her throat and kills herself in front of Rose. And then...
That scene made my skin crawl.
That was a very spooky scene.
I couldn't stop thinking of, you want to know how I got these scars? She was I thought she was going to make a smile.
My father really liked lemonade. I don't know why.
I think she should have made it a smile.
That made his mouth water.
She should have taken it and done a big smile across her face.
That would have been cool.
That would have been so much cooler.
Painted her face green. See, when that scene first happened, like the Joker.
Joker's face isn't green.
He has he has green
hair.
Right?
Yeah.
Green hair.
Green around his eyes. Anyways, I thought that, because I had no idea, about what the movie was going to be about, so I just...
it's called Smiles.
No, I know, but I thought she was, gonna cut her face off, because in the what do you call them? The trailers, it's it wears people, it's it wears people's faces.
Oh, you thought it was going to cut off its face and be the demon?
Yeah, I thought it was going to, take the face off for itself so it can wear the faces of people.
Speaking of taking faces, that was one of my favorite scenes, is the end, when the demon fucking rips his face off and it's got, a bunch of mouths. Remember that? That was so cool.
We'll get to that.
That thing was whack looking.
So cool.
But basically, in this scene, when it fully displays what the monster does at this point. It's all the mechanics of the monster except for one, which is the fact that if you kill someone, it passes it on.
See, it was that, but it also kept quite a bit hidden, which I like.
What did it keep hidden?
Because she all she talked about was that at one point she had seen someone else die in front of her, right? Laura.
She said that?
Yeah, because she didn't say it.
She was a kid.
Someone else. No, it was the teacher. Remember, the teacher had killed himself with a hammer.
Well, also the uncle when she was a kid. I don't think it was the demon monster, but she said that she watched her uncle die when she was a kid. But whatever, it's not important.
It is important.
No, it's not.
It is, because guess who else saw someone die in their past?
Oh, well, I don't think that was... Oh, is that what you were going for?
So, not what I was going for, but Rose saw someone die when she was young, so she had guilt, right? And then...
Troubled mind.
What was it? And then Laura apparently saw someone else die when she was a kid. And then you've got the trauma from the new death in front of them.
So do you think that it's not, actually random people that, it just kills itself?
So all those 20 people, that was the chain of it, all, watched
was it specific? Was it, specific? Or did it just have to be someone with, trauma? Or just random
Well, because it talked about throughout the movie that the demon has to move on through trauma, and that's why they kill themselves in front of someone else. So that person is now traumatized from seeing that. And so the demon passes itself stuff on through that trauma. But I think it also passes on through guilt. You have to have a guilty conscience to be able to accept it, because that's part of what the demon uses, right? It uses that, which maybe that's what Laura saw. Maybe Laura saw her uncle in that first scene, right?
Oh, well, because Rose did see her mother throughout the movie. So, she said that she saw her uncle leading up to that point. She said sometimes, that's why she mentioned it. She says when she sees about who she sees smiling, she's like, sometimes it's my uncle that I saw die in front of me when I was whatever age she was.
So it was probably her uncle that she saw in therapist office.
Oh, because...
Maybe.
Because Laura... Well, because that's what killed her. And so the guilt kills her. And so it's the guilt of somebody else
Laura dies from her
that
mom.
you watched die or had a hand in killing that dies, right?
I'm pretty sure what killed her is that she cut like the lower part of her face to
Yes.
smithereens. I don't think that was guilt.
But it's like it's theoretical guilt.
Right, okay.
Right, so it's the guilt of the person that you killed is technically what kills you. So that person, so for Rose, it was her mom, because she was felt guilty about that. And so the mom is what came and eventually killed her.
Okay, fair.
Anyway, what's the next plot point?
Okay, I think that the mystery in terms of like what the monster does, if it had focused on that, I think it could have been a more captivating mystery throughout the movie.
You know what I think would have made it more captivating? If at the end when he was about to crawl into Rose's mouth, the mystery machine shows up and the gang hops out.
Whoa,
and
mystery
they're
gang.
like, or the Ghostbusters, one of the two.
Ghostbusters.
Buster makes me feel good.
But basically, later in the movie, when Rose, quote unquote, figures out what the monster does when she's like on the computer with Joel, at that point,
Joel's the cop
Joel's
guy.
the
Yeah,
cop.
right.
yeah.
And Mustache was the dog.
Okay. Do you guys agree? Wait. Do you guys agree with her husband? Because her husband just straight up.
Her husband's a dick. I was like, bro,
No.
what the fuck?
Okay.
That is not how you treat someone who's going through mental.
So
struggle.
here's
Especially
the
your wife.
thing.
Crazy.
Here's the thing. First of all, they were engaged. They were not married yet.
Oh,
Second of all, it's understandable. It is, because if someone who you know has had trauma in the
Especially
past,
you love.
major trauma in the past, and they're just sounding insane, you're not going to believe it. You're going to be like, what the fuck?
It technically makes sense, but I think it wasn't the right thing, and it's kind of a dick.
But at the same time, if you think of almost any horror movie, if somebody had just believed them, none of this would have happened. In most horror movies, that's how it goes, because that's part of the fear and part of the psychological horror of this movie and how scary it was is because nobody believed her. Because she's basically this demon makes you on your own, makes you seem crazy, but to you it's real, and that's a lot of mental illness too. Anyway, continue.
All right, moving on. So in the next sort of sequence in the movie is when it starts to establish what's going on with Rose's and her. She starts seeing stuff happening. Immediately after she gets back from work, she's pouring herself a glass of wine. She sees a smile in the darkness. It's the smile of the person that just killed herself, Laura. That one was spooky. That was spooky.
really
and then there's
like
a fiance jump scare.
Well, no,
Fiancé,
it was Laura that jump scared. Remember? Wasn't it Laura that jump scares?
Not at this point. It's the fiance because he
I thought
Goes
Laura
up.
jump scared.
Because he shows, she sees it in the darkness, and she's like, what the hell?
she's freaking out.
Yeah,
And,
then her husband her
husband shows
fiance
up
just
and
shows up, and
it
he's
jump
just
scares
like,
the audience.
yo, bitch.
Are you talking about the laptop when it shows?
No,
Yeah, that's
before
a
that.
later. No.
No, I thought there was.
When she first gets home and she's making a wine, and then
She sees it in the darkness and it comes up and jump scares her.
no, it doesn't. Her husband shows up and she
I know
drops
what
her
you're
glass
talking about. It
because
does that when she's in the bed.
No, not that either.
Okay, well it doesn't do it
I
here.
must have made up a jump scare in my head.
Okay, the fiance jump scare.
I know the fiance jump scares, but I'm trying to remember.
All right, moving
Anyway.
on. Also, okay, so shortly after this, the first person that she's actually on the phone in her office up in there, and she sees Laura, the one who killed herself, in the street, looking up at her from the street, and then she sees the old guy from earlier, the guy who was manic. He's smiling, and then he starts saying, "You're going to die. You're going to die."
That's later.
No, that's early on.
That guy is throughout the movie.
I don't remember that. Oh, I remember that part, but I don't know.
It's when she's walking by the room. You see in the background.
Oh,
she's smiling,
yeah,
and then
I
she
thought-
stops. She looks back
You're
and she
right.
goes back in the room.
You're right. And then
at this point, she calls him crazy, and they're like, he has never, basically her boss gives her a week off of work, so she doesn't have to work. And then at her work, more spooky things happen, the alarm goes off, and the back door's open. There's the fucking.
At home.
What?
You said at work. That was
Oh, at home, I mean. And then she's like, the security people call, and they're like, hello, what's your passcode? And are you sure you didn't close the back door? And look behind you. But then the phone appears back on the table.
yeah, that's one of the. That's what I was talking about earlier. Is that's one of my favorite parts of the movie is how this
you weren't sure
it seems
who was-
it seems real and then suddenly it's just like she was just imagining it.
Yeah.
That's probably why you kept relating it to the last story we read.
Well, the last story I think was better because it had a more.
Oh, also
like,
she has a cat named Mustache.
it had a better ending and it had a.
I remember
like,
her pussy.
The last story because like
cat.
it wasn't real.
She's
made
a
it
very
more
fluffy
interesting.
pussy cat named Mustache.
What was that?
Meow.
Anyway, basically a bunch of spooky scenes happen like what I described, and then there's also. She goes to the party scene we're talking about, where she goes to a party.
Oh.
I
And
thought that was way later. No,
we're moving on in the movie here.
Okay,
we're
well,
not early.
first, so after the whole like security thing, her husband comes home, and then she's like, "I can't find Mustache." Who's the cat, right?
Oh right, the cat disappears.
then-
They can't find the cat.
And she's like looking around in the woods, and that seems kind of creepy because she's like looking out in the dark woods, and then she can't find.
There's some
the
stuff
cat.
with the husband. They like have a fight in the car, but I kind of trim that because it's not really that
You
important.
don't care.
Well, we already kind of talked about that.
Yeah,
You
we already
guys
kind
hate
of talked
the
about that. It's not super important.
husband.
It's basically
No, the car part's after the party.
Oh yeah, it's right after the party, right?
Yeah.
And then the party happens. She goes to the party. And then
Oh, she had bought. Okay, so earlier on, her sister, she has a party for her kid because her kid's turning like what 7 or something, and so she's like, oh yeah, you gotta come and like bring him a toy or something. So she shows up. She goes and buys a toy train in what looks like a
well,
like
that's
a
why
shoe.
she was in the train. So I'm like, why the fuck are you buying a train, lady? I'm like, oh, it's for the kid.
Anyways,
You weren't talking, were you?
okay, and so. It looks like it's in like a shoebox kind of, and so she goes to the party. She shows up, right? She's greeted by her sister, blah blah blah. Her sister's like, oh yeah, open the present from Aunt Rose. He opens it and he's just like mortified, and then it shows him like picking up the dead cat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
It's all
when he initially opened that, he did not give a fuck. He was just staring at like, what is this? This present sucks. I want a better one. Where's my train? It's like,
It would be really
Like-
funny if he just like started accusing her, like,
Okay.
where's my train?
But how far is the other scene where she goes and talks to her sister again?
it's soon.
Okay,
There's
well,
like
I'll
one
wait
thing
till
that
then.
happens in between.
That scene.
Oh.
So basically, after the cat disappears, the cat reappears in the kid's birthday present, and the kid is traumatized. And the Rose sees like the
Rose?
one where the attendant at the party that we saw earlier that we talked about earlier when she arrives at the party. She falls through a table, gets all messed up.
Yeah,
goes to the
glass
hospital.
table. At that point,
she
everyone's like just thinking she's completely insane.
Yeah, at this point she goes to Joel, so the police guy, so he can look up like recent police files, because this is the point when she's figuring out
Was
that,
that when this was?
Yeah.
Because I remember she goes to the hospital too.
this was in between the party scene and the sister scene.
Because it was party. She goes to the hospital to get looked at, and then she goes away from the hospital right away.
Well, I think there's a scene where she's like at home looking at her arms and stuff, but like that's not very important. And then
Okay.
she goes to Joel.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when she actually pieces out what is going on, which is basically there's a chain of people, like when you kill yourself in front of them, they are doomed to in a week kill themselves in front of another person, and like so on and so forth.
I just want a quick moment
Go
to
for it.
thank Belgium for listening to the first podcast.
Oh,
You're the only one who has. So
no,
far.
there's somebody on the East Coast. We're good.
The East Coast, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. He just told
I
me
don't wanna
Belgium.
That was interesting. Two
Shout out
people
to
from
Belgium.
Good job, Belgium.
Belgium.
All of Belgium listen to our podcast.
Belgium loves us.
We are basically the kings and queens of.
Yeah, we'll be going on
Queens.
tour.
Who's
Who's
Queen?
Ooh, I'll be the queen.
Zoe's the queen of Belgium. Hail Pooch.
Pooch.
Poochums.
Anyway, so basically they find like what is happening, that like the suicide chains of like people, you kill someone in a week, you kill yourself in front of another person in a week and pass on the curse. And then at this point she goes with all these pictures. Actually, she even visits the wife of the guy who bludgeoned himself to death to ask more questions about like what he witnessed and stuff.
That scene was crazy.
That was weird because that old lady kicks her out so fast, and it's like,
Oh yeah.
that was weird.
I mean, it's understandable.
I mean, I guess.
If your husband is going insane,
And he
and
killed
suddenly
himself.
this lady is coming with the same exact thing, she doesn't
I
want
know,
to
it's
relive
just the
all
jump
that.
from character was a little staggering. I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
And then she goes with the pictures of the of the suicides to her sister to be like, see, I'm not crazy. Look at all this stuff. They have a fight. This is where they actually reveal stuff about Rose's past. This is past the halfway point of the movie, was what I was talking about, how they like in the first half of the movie doesn't give a shit other than the intro scene.
Yeah.
And then
No, they do talk about it, because remember, her fiance talks about it, how he was researching her and what happened in her past and stuff like that. Remember?
what scene?
Remember when they get in the car after the party? They're in the car together.
He mentions her in that fight.
Yeah. So in the fight with her fiance, he had brought up mental illness, and he said because it runs in the family. And she was like, "Oh, how did you know about that?" And he was like, "Well, if I'm getting into a lifelong relationship with someone, I want to be able to know what I'm getting into."
Oh, I actually kind of remember that. That was still like halfway through the movie.
I thought he was talking about like if I'm gonna have kids with you, I don't want them to be fucking cuckoo.
That's true. That was the first mention of it, but that was still like halfway through the movie. Anyway, the sister scene, they have a fight, and then she goes back in the car, and then the sister immediately comes back out, runs to the door, stands there.
I hated that. So I was
so good.
So she walks back to the car, right? She's sitting in the car, she's like crying or something. And so the camera is sitting like in the passenger seat, like facing out towards the house with her in the shot. And then you see the sister come out of the house, but you can't see her head. You can only see from the shoulders down because the car window was like blocking it. And she's like coming out like kind of like at a quick pace. She's walking out.
She was going for it. She wasn't dilly-dallying.
Yeah, she was
like, it wasn't a full sprint, but
she was speed walking.
Yeah.
Out there with her arms crossed. And she gets up to the car. You still can't see her head. And she goes, "Rose." And she looks out, and her fucking head swings down like a Miley Cyrus on a wrecking ball, and like the neck is like so long, and like
it like twists around everything. So I thought this was a little like I wasn't expecting that to happen. That's why I just read it so bad. But I thought it was
so good.
It looked kind of goofy after I watched it. Her head just going like. What?
It was goofy, but it was the right kind of
scare.
goofy. It was really good.
Yeah, that. Like I felt while she was walking up, I felt I'm like, is that like the demon or whatever? And when she got there, it still caught me off guard.
Something wasn't right because they left on a bad note, and then immediately come out and like brush over. It's like
like that's like going back to what I keep saying. Like I sound like a broken record, but I like how it's like in her head. It plays one after another. Like the demon, like reality is just completely like set for her.
Yeah.
But you don't know what's reality because you're in her head.
Okay.
Shut up,
but
man.
And then what happened? Okay, it's the next scene. After this, kind of during the scene, that happens is I think really important to the story, because after it shows this, it cuts to a short little scene on the kid. Right?
It does a long pan over.
Was it a long? I thought it just goes into his room.
I think it does a cut where it shows her freaking out in the car, then it pans over to see the kid.
Yeah, because the kid was watching her. I think there's going to be a sequel, and it's going to be based on the kid, because the kid has the trauma. He's been traumatized with the cat, because the sister made a point. Rose's sister made a point of saying he's traumatized, and the whole point of the movie was that people are traumatized, and then they start seeing this. So I think some part of the demon, like some small part, moved to the kid so that the kid is seeing it. And I think in the next movie, it might show that he saw his mom go out to Rose's car too, right? So he watched that whole thing happen.
Like he has a special sight to where he can see the demon when the demon...
Yeah. And so, because he's got the trauma, he's seen it all. Like, he has all of these things that are supposed to be happening to somebody else. Somebody died, which was the cat.
Wait, but doesn't in the movie when it pans up to him and he's like looking out the window, and she sees Rose just like start freaking like yelling. So that in that point he can't see her walk.
No, so Rose freaking out in the car was after she had seen her sister out in front. Right, so she sees her sister go out in front, freaks out, sister disappears, and she gets pissed off and starts yelling and screaming. And so at that point, the kid was watching. I think he saw the demon go up to the car. And then the next movie is going to be, did the cop die? He didn't, right?
No.
Rose died.
At the end, the cop got cursed.
He got cursed.
Right. So I think it's going to be between the cop guy and the kid to figure out how to stop it. Because I think they both have it now.
I think that it's gonna be in the future, and then the kid gets it because I don't know. I feel like
when you said that, I imagined like Star Trek. Spock, don't kill yourself, Spock. No.
I was just imagining like a team fighting Ghost, and it's like the cop and some little kid, and the kid's like, "Whoa,
I can do jujitsu, Ghost."
We were making shy surprise jokes the entire movie.
Like, just because the kid can see the ghost, what is he gonna do? Like, if he's a child, I think it's gonna be like
that would be a new mechanic that you could make a new movie out of.
What if he can see the demon, but it doesn't affect. So the demon doesn't know he can see it, but he can
Doom
see
Slayer.
Well, kind of. But like,
The Doom music kicks in.
so the cop guy is seeing the demon.
He's like, "Where's my train?"
So the cop guy is seeing the demon. The cop is having this whole thing happen to him.
Yeah.
And the kid sees the demon with him and brings it up to him. He's like, who was that? And the cop is like, what the fuck? Did you actually see that? And so they have this duo where the demon doesn't know he's being seen, so he can't pass. So in some way, he can't pass the trauma on or something like that. I think would be a really cool sequel mechanic.
I feel like that'd be good, but I feel like there's flaws with the kid being a child.
Well, there is, but...
The way that sounded so like you just hate kids. Like this movie is flawed because this kid is a child. This kid should be an adult.
Exactly. Like, I feel like it should
Okay.
be set in
Anyway,
the future.
what I was gonna say is that I don't know if there is gonna be a sequel, but if there
think
was,
there
that
is.
would be cool.
I think,
I think there will, because like kind of like It in the first movie they don't beat him, but the second movie they come
Well,
back.
no, I liked how it wasn't a happy ending.
Turn down our mic a little bit. Morgan's loud as fuck.
I am.
Yep. Every time you talk, it goes to red. Right there, it's good.
I liked how it wasn't like a happy ending where they beat the monster and like, yeah, I liked how because I knew it probably wasn't gonna be a good ending, but I liked that it wasn't a good ending.
So that's what I read an article on it, and they kind of talked about how it was really good that they both set it up for a sequel if they wanted to, but they also wrapped it up really nicely so that it wasn't this happy-go-lucky ending. Everything's better now. It was a realistic, like, this shit's dark, everything ending, right?
Yeah, I think that. Yeah. Anyway, we should probably move on from this scene where the kid watches that. I think that's enough.
A child.
Or the kid trauma. Never. The movie kind of after this point, the movie forgets about the kid. It doesn't mention it again.
Yeah, fuck the kid.
Which would
Don't
be
fuck
a
the
shame.
kid.
I mean,
Oh my god.
not like that. Like a screw. No, like get rid of the kid. Like,
Try to save yourself.
Took me a second.
Could be the first really good sequel in
I'm
a while.
thirsty.
And then
I have a big ass
okay,
water
after
bottle
this
in my
is
car.
the therapist scene that Morgan spoiled for us last episode.
What?
Yeah.
Therapist scene, which I thought was kind of goofy. I didn't like how they. So basically,
She has a weird smile. I don't like
the
her
therapist
smile.
visits,
Yeah.
and then they're talking about like stuff, and she's
I think
like,
it would have been. I think it would have been better if.
Well,
like,
let me explain
if
the
everyone
scene
had
first.
the same.
Let me explain the
smiles.
scene first. They're talking, and then the other therapist calls, or the real therapist calls, and the therapist that's there in person is actually the demon. And then once she answers the phone, she realizes it's the demon. She's like, the therapist starts smiling in a weird way, stands up, walks towards her, and like opens her mouth and like drools on her. And I think when she's talking to her, it's like the demon talking directly to Rose, which I wasn't a huge fan of, and also her like voice is being pitched down, which makes it kind of seem a little goofy. It lost all the spooks for me in this scene because of all like when they try to like make the demon more apparent, which is kind of a theme for this movie. It means when when it shows the demon more, it loses the fear factor, in my opinion.
Well, I like it because. Well, I agree with you, but also like the she's on a timed she's on a clock, so like the sooner and sooner she gets to her death,
I think they could have done it in a better way though, because like. This is just the demon directly talking to her. I thought I feel like it would be more like spooky and cool if the demon was more discreet, like in the movie, like in the short story from last week, where it was like leaving messages and not straight up talking to her.
Yes, but also in the short story, the main character wasn't a therapist.
He was
right. So the therapist, she has this knowledge of mental illnesses. So to her, she's having hallucinations, visual hallucinations, auditory hallucinations now. And so she's showing all of these signs of these mental illnesses that she's studied and she's practiced and that she's seen in other people. So she's now thinking more and more that she is crazy, right? And so it's affecting her more as a therapist than it would somebody else.
No, but she believes in the demon. She doesn't think she's
She
just
does
crazy.
believe in the demon, but the fact that she's a therapist and that she deals with this crazy, intense mental illnesses definitely has an impact on the auditory things and the visual, because all of it, to anyone diagnosing it, and that's why she tried to self-diagnose herself, is she's seeing these things and she's hearing these things, so she's trying to diagnose it in a way that she can understand. And so it's not so much the demon, but like more of a mental illness that she thinks she's trying to deal with.
That's not what the movie shows.
roasted.
That's kind of what it's your take on the movie, but that's not, the movie doesn't really deliver that, I don't think.
Well, I think it does, right?
I guess, but
Then again, you thought that
it's like a possible theory
Donnie
explanation.
Darko had a bunch of.
The movie doesn't like.
It's one of those where, until the director says something specific about it, you can only guess. Because it's also a movie that's definitely deep. It's deep rooted in
your mom.
Are you talking about Donnie Darko or this movie?
This movie.
Okay.
It's deep rooted in trauma and guilt and the responses to that. And a lot of the times, a response to that is mental illness.
Well, I don't think this has to do with the
schizophrenia.
specific scene where the demon's talking to her.
I think it does, because what I'm saying is that I agree that it was a little goofy that that the demon was speaking to her in such a low-pitched tone, but I think that also had a lot of meaning behind that, because that could have been, like, there's multiple ways you can look at it. Like, she's either actually mentally ill, and that's how the thing is going, or there is actually a demon.
But well, the movie. Okay, whatever. I'm gonna move on.
Like, you're saying it like, if you saw two people fighting, right, from a distance where you can't hear them, and one of them goes for the punch first, and then, but your interpretation of it is that, oh, he punched first, he's the bad guy. But you don't know how the conversation's going. So I think it's more of like an interpretation on your part that you're getting from what you're visually seeing and hearing.
Okay, if you're in high school, you're reading a
I'm
book. Shut up and
Shut
pretend.
him down.
So, like, you would read books and you would interpret them and you would try to find the author's reason behind doing something. It's the same thing for the director, right? He's giving all of these signs and these things that give you a good interpretation of what's going on. So it's like a lot of different stuff is happening in the movie that is like a metaphor or a parody to guilt, trauma response, and mental illness.
All right, moving on. Okay, and this is the scene that you were talking about, the jump scare you didn't like, where Rose, she has a dream where she goes to the parking lot of her work, and she has a... did I explain the scene where she visits the guy who says okay, she visits a prisoner and who broke the chain, and the only way you can break the curse is by killing someone else, because in front of a witness.
No, yeah, you have to kill someone in front of someone else in your most brutal way you can possibly do.
You just have to traumatize them, yeah.
Yeah, it has to be trauma, because it spreads through trauma.
Trauma and guilt.
Forgot to explain that. And then she goes to their work with the intention to kill someone, and then she has a dream where she kills the manic guy in front of her boss, but then she
doesn't.
back up.
Yeah, she doesn't know it's a dream, so she goes in and then starts killing him. But then he starts laughing, and then the other guy starts laughing and like stuff, and then she wakes up back in her car again.
Yeah, the manic guy jump scares while she's talking to the boss, and then the boss calls the police
because he sees the knife.
At this point, nothing happens of that. You never hear of the boss again because she goes to her childhood home after this.
Which is
way
out.
To follow her.
It's way out in the fucking woods.
Yeah, she goes way out in the woods, goes to this creepy looking house.
That she grew up in.
Looks like the house from that Wendigo movie.
Wendigo?
The Wendigo?
That was such a bad movie.
Wendigo.
But this whole part from here on reminds me so much of it. It's definitely inspired by it.
I don't think it is.
100%.
Well,
would you like me to explain the nuances of this in great detail of why it's it?
Because it rhymes with tit.
No, I'll tell why in just a minute, but yeah, continue.
Basically, okay, so she goes to the house where she found her mother dead at the beginning of the movie. And then
Mama.
She goes and she like turns off the lights, gets a lantern, and she confronts her basically like a vision of her mother, where they explains this is where it actually explains what happens when she was a kid, that she like found her and like she didn't do anything, and that's what he was talking about, like the guilt and stuff, where she like left her to die. But I don't know, this is I'm not 100% sure, but what I remember from the beginning of the movie is Rose found her mother when she was already dead, right?
She was standing there when her mother was dead.
Yeah.
I think the door opens on her mother being dead.
But Rose saw her mother dead, not dying, right?
Yes.
Both.
Because later in the movie it says that she found her dying and didn't save her.
So, I think what happened is she found her dying. She opens the door. Her mom is dying. Her mom asks for help, and she says no, closes the door, and walks out.
I don't think she says anything. I think she just...
No, she says no.
She's a child, and she's like scared, and she's just like doesn't know what to do, so she just closes.
I mean, she like shakes.
So the scene in the beginning of the movie is
She's
after
not-
she already finds her dead.
So she walks out, closes the door, comes back later, and she's dead, and she realizes what she did.
Come back twice.
So she goes in once to find her mom dying. Her mom asks for help. She shakes her head no, closes the door, walks out. She comes back in later, opens the door. Her mom is dead. She realizes what happened.
Okay. So that happens. Well, that doesn't happen, but she has a vision of her mother. And then...
In her underwear for some reason.
Well, yeah, and then
She's a
there's
drug
a
addict.
scene where
Mommy
this is where it
lingerie.
starts to lose, like kind of go a little bit off the rails, where her mother turns into this giant monster with like a big face and like long fingernail, like long arms and like.
Did we ever
lanky,
discuss
like,
the
creeping
part-
through the hallway, which looks kind of?
We never discussed the part where she was in bed and they're like from the closet.
Well, that was part of the spooky
From the
occurrences.
hallway,
Which,
yeah.
Okay, there was a scene where there was a
Like-
jump scare where she was in her bed and there was like a hallway scene and there was like a jump scare.
That one was really good.
It was
Oh,
just
got
part
me.
of the spooky occurrences that we were talking about earlier.
Spooky.
But this scene in the cabin,
Yeah.
you remember the scene in It
What the-
Chapter 2
No.
when Beverly was in the house and the fucking old lady with saggy tits McGee comes running out naked?
Yeah, I remember that.
That's what this reminded me of. There's this really tall lady just comes sprinting out. Creepy.
I've never seen shit after 2.
Shit after 2.
Oh my. I've never seen It Chapter 2, so.
The monster chases her into like the main dining room. She burns it on fire. She runs out of the house, goes all the way back to Joel's house.
Well, wait.
Joel
So it like she burns it on fire and she thinks it's dead.
After it opens its face,
No, that's after. That's
No,
after.
that's after.
No.
That's
No,
after.
This is before, because she goes back to Joel. Joel is the demon monster, and then she teleports back to the house.
I thought that the demon monster when she was burning it was going to be
Yeah.
Joel.
So no, but it's so she burns it, right? Oh, it's starting to rain.
Yeah, she burns it.
She
She thought it was
burns
dead.
it.
She
She
goes-
thought it was dead, and she drives like this long ass, like relaxing, like she's like like at peace, basically, like this long ass drive back to Joel's house into an
I'm
apartment,
stuck.
and then Joel's like, and then just like
Yeah.
he's the
She's
main
the monster. She teleports back to the house when she runs out the door. And then,
and the house is completely.
And then Joel appears there, who's there to be a witness to pass it on to Joel. She runs inside. This is the scene that you were talking about where he rips his skin off and like climbs into her mouth.
So cool. When it had all the mouths, that's so cool.
It doesn't make
Loved it.
sense, but yeah,
It was cool, but it was kind of, it felt out of place for the movie. It felt more like a Resident
Yeah.
Evil
yeah.
than like,
It was so good.
because like the end of the movie felt like it almost felt like it was from a different movie.
See, yes and no. Because
I mean, I know it was the same movie.
I mean,
no, but like, have you guys seen?
no, I haven't.
Oh, okay. Have you seen Cabin in the Woods?
Yeah,
You seen Cabin in the Woods?
I've
Okay,
seen
no,
A
you
Cabin
haven't
in the
seen
Woods
Cabin in the
before. Is that a movie?
There's another movie. What was it called? I think it was called Ritual.
I've seen it.
Nope.
Yeah. So there's all these movies. This is a very specific kind of horror genre where it starts off as like a subtle horror movie, and then it gives you this really crazy, really big demon monster that you got to fight.
That's another thing I didn't like about It Chapter 2 is where it turned into a giant spider monster. That was weird. Was that in the book?
Yeah.
That was kind of...
It was in the book. Yeah. It was a good part of the book. It was much better in the book because he didn't. Anyway, we're not talking about it right now.
Maybe you have more to discuss about what you were saying? Something about Ritual movie and the Cabin in the Woods movie?
Oh, basically just it's a kind of movie where they kind of flip it really fast and give you this really big monster that you got to kill.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Which
When
is
movies
cool.
do that, personally, I'm not a fan. I prefer it when it leaves it more of like a spooky kind of atmosphere throughout the entire movie. I think it kind of... I mean, it's not terrible. Like, it was fun, but... Okay, basically, the demon monster, like, rips off its skin, like, shows a bunch of mouth, what it
It
actually
rips
looks
off.
like.
It's because it's like wearing her mom's skin, so it rips off that skin.
Whatever.
Wearing it like a mask, like she said in
And
the
it-
beginning.
Yeah, and it shows what it actually looks like, which is this, big flesh monster, and then it climbs into her mouth.
It
But
like
doesn't show that.
yeah, it does. Kinda. It like rips open her, or it doesn't rip it up, but she like pulls open her
It doesn't
mouth.
show her physically eat the demon.
I mean,
Tasty.
its
Good
head
soup.
starts to go in.
Well, yeah, it doesn't show it. It shows the beginning
But
of it.
it shows
doesn't
like her
actually show
mouth
it.
literally like opening up like
Okay,
a
the
fucking
mouth
snake.
opening isn't eating the demon, so...
It is.
But then it goes to Joel trying to break down the door, and then finally crashes in.
Yeah, then she's
And
like,
sees nothing.
she's standing behind her with like the thing over it, and like this was very obvious what was gonna happen. And, like, the movie kind of played it as like, ooh, like what's gonna happen? It's like, well, I know what's gonna happen, but like,
Yeah, so she's standing there like all
and then she
smiley.
burns herself on fire. It
She
zooms in Joel's
pours
eyes,
gasoline on
and the
herself.
movie ends.
Therefore traumatizing somebody else and passing on the curse.
Yeah.
Let me read through my notes.
Which was interesting. I definitely think it's got a great sequel that they could do, but they got to do it right because there's also a terrible sequel that they could do. You know,
It Chapter 2.
that was a good movie.
Not as good as the first.
Have you seen it, Chapter 2?
No, I haven't.
Okay. The first one was better, sure, but it Chapter 2 was really, really good. But you also didn't read the book, so
Antoine read the books.
the book. Antoine had
I read the books. You only read one book? You're not a true Stephen King fan if you didn't read
I feel
all
like if
the
I
It
unlock
books.
this and try and open it, the car's gonna explode.
There are secret It books that you find within the books, and if you're not a real
Okay,
fan,
good.
you're not going to find them. I read all 17.
He actually does show up. Pennywise shows up and is talked about in multiple other stories. Anyway, any other notes? It's kind of the movie. This is really good.
That was the synopsis of the movie, and our opinion
And then-
of it through.
John Cena comes out of nowhere and RKO's this demon.
Pretty
It's
much.
John Cena.
John Cena.
I always wonder what would happen
Oh,
if they
okay.
just
Last
fight
criticism.
it.
The title sequence was dumb. I didn't like it.
It was good.
The title sequence?
It was blinding, but it was good.
It was like flashing my eyes. I'm like, bro,
Oh,
stop
that's
that.
right. Yeah.
like
I thought it was
Did
dumb.
you have a seizure, Antoine?
I like the sounds that went with it. Did you remember
Yeah.
the sound effects?
Oh no, the sounds were good for everything,
They
but
were
the
cool.
flashing I didn't like. I was like, fuck off.
There's like, what the fuck? There's so many termites on the ground.
Don't let them in my car.
Like, so what? I'm going back inside. There's literally like billions of them all on the ground. And ants.
So overall, it's very spooky, good jump scares. I just think that some of the stuff in the end lost the spookiness, obviously, and then there could have been there was
Is it a
recipes for a
spider?
better mystery. I think.
Michael, look at this. Is that a spider? Big ass dead spider.
What's spider?
really big spider in my air vent. That's great.
Yep, it's dead.
It's dead, but it's very hairy. Like my
Turn that one
balls.
on for you.
And obviously
for
the
you.
sound design was very good.
Yep.
They.
Overall, the movie was well done.
So yeah, I stick with my 8 out of 10.
I
It
do
was
too.
well written. The characters were good. I think the actors were really good.
The acting was good. The characters were.
Camera
Some
work
of them were
was good.
sort of lackluster.
I feel like the characters were very realistic.
They were realistic.
That was what I liked.
Yeah, we did leave out a bunch of details, so I'd say go watch the movie yourself.
We already told them to go do that, so we're good.
Yeah, go watch the movie. Leave your own review of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But make sure to mention us because we copyrighted it.
Nope, we didn't.
Yeah, we are actually the developers. It's actually Daniel Stanley, the director, and Martin Freeman, the executive producer here.
Yeah, I'm Martin Freeman.
Don't look up the directors and the producers. You don't need to worry about it.
For legal reasons, this is untrue, but yes, we are exactly the directors. Anyway,
I directed your mom into my bed last night.
okay, with that, we're
I
gonna
produced your
end it
dad
here.
into my splendor.
thank you for listening again. If you did, anyone from Belgium, thank you for listening.
What's another?
I don't know
we
why,
have
but
any other
Belgium
final
just reminds
notes?
me of like a bell.
We have any final notes?
Dong. I just thought of like the Taco Bell bell. Every
Alright,
time
I
you
don't
go to
think they have
Belgium,
final
there's
notes.
just a dong like the Taco Bell.
Thank you for
bell.
listening. Make sure you add the podcast, subscribe, download the episodes,
Is
all
there a
of that
Taco Bell
fun
slogan?
stuff.
What's a Taco Bell slogan?
If you-
Make sure that you get updates for we upload
Just
weekly
go
on
to
Fridays.
Belgium. Hi, I would like a number 4 with refried beans.
literally just
We'll see
as
you in the
soon
next
as you
one.
step in. Belgium is Taco Bell.
Who's the CEO of Taco Bell? Is he the president of Belgium?